Hello class, I just wanted to come on here to give a brief lecture about another part of Africa. And it's a part of Africa that you'll see in the map I'll show you that does not have an abundance of forest from which to build with wood, does not have access to vast quarries of stone like limestone that we saw much of Egypt and Nubia used to construct their civilizations, nor access to marble, whether sourced from Europe by the Roman Empire and brought over, as we saw in Tunisia and Algeria, or quarried locally. So let's pivot to the PowerPoint, and I'll show you this unique challenge and the climate forward-thinking approach to creating architecture with such limitations. All right, very good. Okay, so I'm at the PowerPoint here. Let me adapt our view here. And just take you back a slide here. I just wanted to quickly review the geography of where we've been. Of course, we spent beginning of this online course in this part of the world discussing Nubia, a little bit of Egypt, of course, because we can't not talk about Egypt. And then we pivoted over to Algeria and Tunisia. Where we're heading now is to Mali. And of course, there's a lot to talk about in that part of the world, but it's also the part where we're getting into sub-Saharan Africa. And you may be aware, of course, one of the most great deserts of the world is the Sahara Desert. And along with that, of course, creates a climate and environment that is challenging because of the lack of natural, lush agricultural resources that would be used for construction. So in Mali, there is an abundance of something that we may be familiar with, living here in Southern California and in this part of North America, and that is Adobe construction. So essentially what Adobe construction is they're taking local mud or clay, perhaps mixing in other components to strengthen it, and creating their own sun-baked bricks. And in one location in Mali, known as Jenne, you can see this approach going back to the 16th century in this example of an example of a typical home in that part of the world. So we may recognize nowadays, of course, we see in modern construction in our neighborhoods the use of stucco. But here you have to keep in mind they are constructing these homes with Adobe bricks. And then it has a coating, a stucco-like coating of a similar mud component or slurry that they are using. So, it's a clever solution and a practical and affordable solution in a part of the world, again, where there is a lack of wood and stone from which to build anything. What you see, too, in this part of the world is very distinct features. And if you look at the top center of the photo here, you might notice that there are these 5 cone shapes. And they're there in many of these homes. And they are symbolic of the 5 pillars or tenets of Islam. So again, a physical reminder of the important values of that religion in a part of the world where that arrived from Arabia into Africa, like we saw in North Africa as well. Some have interpreted it also as, like our hands have 5 fingers, that too is a gesture of holding up a hand to thwart the evil eye. And of course, we want to keep evil out of our homes. That is done in many cultures around the world as well. Additional layers can be seen in my PowerPoint slide written in purple. And according to the language of the local Songhai people, you might notice that the corner columns of the exterior protrude slightly like pillars do, but they have a slightly rounded look. That is interpreted to be representative of the male aspect of the home, somewhat of a phallic look, while the interior engaged pillars that you see above this individual posing in front of the structure is meant to represent what they call the feminine pillars. And so that suggests with the doorway into the home, the references to female anatomy, perhaps the birth canal. So taking those two components of the male and the female together from that union, so to speak, the next generation is born. So then another layered interpretation of the 5 pillars could be the sons of the pillars, so that those are the offspring of the male and female. And of course, we will encounter that in many cultures in the world about this idea of, the male and female ancestor, almost akin to an Adam and Eve kind of equivalency, from which the subsequent generations of the people are created. So with this in mind, and of course this would be a home for an average family, you find, of course, the practice of Islam in Mali, and with it, of course, necessitating the construction of great mosques. This is known here as the Great Mosque of Jenne. This one is very old, founded in the 13th century. It needs a lot of maintenance, and it has been rebuilt in the turn of the 20th century. But much like the home we just examined, it's principally made of adobe and wood construction, and of course requires replastering in mud annually. If you look closely, you can see a reference to the 5 sons of the pillars on some of the close-up detail images that I'm sharing with you, as well as another feature known as a toron. That is the word you see here in red. And that is the wood projectiles, almost like scaffolding, that you see peppering the exterior of the mosque on all sides. One function of that is it truly does function as scaffolding, as people can literally climb up those projected wood elements that are harvested from palm trees locally, a desert plant. That is a useful thing to be able to do when that annual replastering is needed for that mosque. I'm going to have you watch next a video that talks about why this ancient mosque exemplifies many wise climatic choices, how those torons create and enhance the experience inside the building from a climate-forward perspective, and other features that help people enjoy this mosque in a place known for its brutal environment and weather patterns. Thanks for joining me.